Hey, it's Tom from Texas, and it's time for another Floppy Deep Dive, and today we've got a showdown between two 8-bit giants, the Commodore 64 and the Atari 800XL. And today we're diving deep into some of the best and maybe worst games, starting with the letter H. And as always, no emulation here, just pure retro hardware. And here's where you come in. I want to know which system you think won this round. So as we go through these games, be sure to drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get started. First up is H.E.R.O, a classic action platformer released by Activision in 1984 for both the Commodore 64 and Atari. And it's a game where you use your jetpack and dynamite to rescue trapped miners, and it became a fan favorite for its mix of action and strategy. And in terms of controls, I found that both system versions feel identical. They're smooth and responsive, which is crucial when it comes to a game like this, and timing is everything. And as for the graphics, just look at it. They're both very clean, they both look very good, great colors. They just did an excellent job on both systems when they made this game. When it comes to sound, both systems offer equally solid audio with engaging effects that enhances the gameplay. And overall, I'd give this game a tie. I think it's a push. Both systems offer an excellent experience with H.E.R.O no matter which system you're playing on. But I want to know what you think. Do you see something that maybe I don't see? Do you see something that maybe made this game better on one system or the other? Put it down in the comments. So now that we've finished rescuing miners, let's head on to the baseball field for some action with Hardball. Next up is Hardball, a baseball classic released in 1985 for both the Commodore 64 and the Atari 800XL by Accolade. Known for pioneering baseball simulations, this game gave players the chance to experience a more realistic mechanics than the arcade-style games of the era. And let's talk about control. On the C64, pitching and hitting are far smoother and gives you much more control. The Atari version, however, is a bit clunky. The Commodore 64 bat adjusts where you can actually see it moving up and down for high and low swings, and you can't see that on the Atari. Visually, the C64 shines again. Players are more detailed with noticeable red and blue caps for the team distinction, and the crowd, umpire, and catcher are all more polished. On the Atari, you'll notice the umpire has an unusual blue face. I do like the color of the dirt on the Atari, if that makes any sense, but the C64 still takes the win here with its better player models and overall visual polish. Also, the Atari version misses some key gameplay elements like diving outfielders, making it less dynamic. As for the sound, it's a tie. I love the intro music and all the little sounds in between the innings. And both systems offer comparable audio quality, but the better controls and visuals for the Commodore 64 makes it come out on top for this one. So, fun fact, Hardball was one of the first baseball simulations to dive into player stats and gameplay mechanics that helped shape the future of sports games. So now let's leave the ballpark behind and move on to the next retro game. Next up, we've got Bovver, developed by Llamasoft in 1984, and the title's a clever nod to the Flymo hover mower, a popular brand in the UK, combined with the British slang bother, which means causing trouble. So you're literally borrowing your neighbor's mower and causing chaos. In looking at both versions, the Atari 800XL wins for visuals. The grass on the C64 comes across as fluorescent green, while the Atari offers a more natural, softer look, easier on the eyes for sure. In terms of controls, it's a tie. Both systems handled smoothly and are fun to play, but I do think the C64 version is harder because the dog loses its patience and bites much quicker, making the game more challenging on that system. Sound-wise, it's another push. Both versions offer quirky and fitting sound effects. Overall, the Atari 800XL takes the edge for its more comfortable visuals, while the C64 wins for offering a tougher challenge. So fun fact, Hoover Boover is one of those rare games where mowing the lawn is the main objective. It was designed by Jeff Minter, and it's a unique addition to any retro gaming library. Alright, we're done with this lawn mowing chaos. Next up, let's dive into the platforming madness of Henry's House. Next up is Henry's House, originally released on the Commodore 64 in 1984 by Llamasoft, and later re-released for the Atari 800XL in 1987 by Mastertronic. This platformer has you guide Henry through dangerous rooms in his house, dodging everything from toothbrushes to flying toast. When I played the Commodore 64 version, it felt way too easy. Why? Because I had limited lives and nothing could kill me. That made the game a walk in the park. On the other hand, the Atari 800XL version didn't hold my hand. It played the way it was meant to, making the Atari version significantly harder and more of a challenge. Visually, both versions are similar, though the Atari 800XL feels more polished with slightly better color, but the real difference comes in the gameplay. Where the Commodore 64 gives you the glitch that essentially removes all the challenge, the Atari version sticks to the proper difficulty curve. The controls are smooth on both systems, so no major difference, and sound-wise it's a tie. Both versions give us a fun little sound effect that fit the quirky nature of the game. Fun fact, the Atari version was actually re-released in '87 under the budget label Mastertronic, giving the game a second life after its initial release on the Commodore 64. Alright, now that we made it through Henry's chaotic house, let's move on to some arcade-style action with Hard Hat Mack. Now let's take a look at Hard Hat Mack, one of the first games published by Electronic Arts back in 1983. And it's clear this game was heavily influenced by Donkey Kong, but it stands out on its own as a real fun platformer on both of the C64 and the Atari. In this game, I had a blast playing it. I can't remember playing this much back in the 80s, but I wish I had, because of all the games that I reviewed today, this is my number one. I loved it. I couldn't stop playing it. In fact, it delayed me getting this video out because I played it so much. It is just an awesome game, and if you haven't played Hard Hat Mack in a long time, I recommend busting it out and playing it again. And this game plays great on both systems. The only thing that's a little different is on the C64 they have blue beams compared to the gray ones on the Atari, which really isn't that big of a deal. Now, the Vandal and the OSHA guide do feel like they come after me quicker and more often on the Commodore 64 than they do on the Atari. On the Atari, it felt like they gave me more space so I had time to get around. And the controls are perfect on both systems, and once I figured out that spacebar releases the jackhammer, the gameplay became a lot smoother. That was totally a game changer, literally. Overall, Hard Hat Mack is a blast to play, and whether you're on the Commodore 64 or the Atari, you're in for a good time. I give a little edge to the Commodore 64 just because I like that little bit of difficulty, and I do like its graphics a little bit more. But both systems were awesome. So now, let's move on from construction sites to the next one. Next up is H.E.R.O, released by Activision in 1985 for both the C64 and Atari. And this is a puzzle-focused game where you navigate through menus and make strategic choices. While not the most visually engaging, it's definitely unique. A fun fact, H.E.R.O is one of the earliest games to explore hacking as a gameplay mechanic, long before it became a major genre. And when you look at the controls, both systems feel identical. The keyboard navigation is smooth on both of the systems, and there's really no difference. Same for the graphics, not really any differences there. They all look very similar, and the sound is similar just like on all the other games. So in this case, it's a total push. H.E.R.O plays and looks the same on both systems. No winner here, it's a tie all the way through. So now let's leave the world of hacking and move on to the next one. Our next game is Hobgoblin, released in 1987 by Atlantis Software in the UK. Interestingly, this game was only released for PAL formats, meaning there is no official NTSC version of this game. That might explain why the Commodore 64 version feels a bit off when played on NTSC systems. So let's dive into how it plays on both systems. When it comes to graphics, the Atari 800XL wins hands down. The end-screen skeletons look really cool, and the scrolling is much smoother on the Atari. The Commodore 64 struggles with the scrolling, making it harder to transition between screens. The C64 version does have quicker monsters, but it feels a bit too fast. There's no flickering, but overall, it has a PAL-like feel to it. I'm thinking about trying it in PAL mode to see if that fixes the issue. In terms of sound, I give the edge to the Atari 800XL. It feels more atmospheric and the effects are cleaner compared to the C64. Overall, I have to give this round to the Atari 800XL. The smoother gameplay, better graphics, and more immersive sounds makes it the clear winner for me. Now, let's get goblins behind us and move on to the next game. So that's the lineup of games starting with the letter H, but now it's your turn to tell me, did the Commodore 64 or the Atari 800XL take the crown today? Which system had the better games in this round? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's see which system wins according to you. And if you missed any of the previous rounds, don't forget to check out my other C64 versus Atari videos from letters A to G. And there's a ton of great content waiting for you out there. And if you're enjoying these battles, hit subscribe and stick around because we've got more C64 versus Atari face-offs on the way, and I'll see you over there. Boom!